How to remove an up and over garage door. Well, I thought I'd have a quick look on the internet and see what help there is in doing this job, and I found lots and lots of videos and instructions, and they all seem to be concerned with sectional garage doors, up and over sectional garage doors, not ones that come in one piece like that, which is very common in the UK and particularly in this part of the UK. So these ones have a spring, counterbalance spring, down here at the bottom on the side frame. One of these on each side. They have a pivot somewhere centrally, and just a straight track, not a curved track, that carries the top end of the garage door with the usual roller thing in a straight track along the back. That sort of garage door. And I think, as you can guess from here, this garage door is stuck in the middle of what is now a tandem length shed. So it wasn't much help, and so what I'm going to do is look at doing this myself, and then I'll post some pointers to what you need to look out for so that others can come along and do it. This door is in perfectly good order. Unfortunately, nobody in the neighbourhood needs a new garage door at the moment. It's always the case, isn't it? If I'd wanted a new garage door, there wouldn't be one available. But looking at it, it looks as if I can release the tension from the spring. There's a little clip there that can be pulled out to allow the spring to be unhooked by lifting it on that hooky part and dropping it off to remove the spring tension. It's still then trapped into its situation. The garage door appears to be just supported then on this arm, and the top end of this arm is just a clip. I'll have a look at that clip, which goes over a pin that should allow me to drop that arm off. And then the only other thing, so the garage door is only held at 2 points. That point there, on that pin there, and then at this point here on this roller. And so then if we drop the roller off, that should then mean that the metal part of the garage door, those 4 points, 2 on this side, 2 on the other side, mean that the metal part of the garage door is free, and then we can tackle the frame and everything else. So there we have it. It looks pretty simple and pretty safe. Not much chance of highly tension springs causing a great deal of damage in this case. I'll let you know if what I have surmised is correct, and then it's a matter of removing the frame. To recap, the door is supported by 4 things. One is this pivot here at the top of this arm, and so you have to free off that pivot. Well, you've got one each side, and then you've got the wheel with 3 bolts through it, and they are removed with a little socket spanner. What size is that? 10 millimeter socket. Now then you need a screwdriver, a big screwdriver for this bit. The first thing you have to do with the screwdriver is remove this, well, you can do it with your fingers if you like, this retaining clip from the back, and then the screwdriver will fit underneath this, and with the arm in the upright position, you just stand gently either side and just gently lift and pull, and it comes out of these holes in that arm. And then there's a similar pin at the bottom. No tension on it now, so I'll just get the screwdriver in to pull the pin out, and it should come out at the bottom. But the tricky bit is, not that tricky, remove that retaining clip, and then as you can see, this thing will come out, and it's provided with almost a hook, just enough purchase to get the blade of a screwdriver under it. And what I've got is a screwdriver with no handle under why we don't throw these in the scrap bin, but it provides a useful little Tommy bar. Yeah, and just replace the retaining clips so you don't lose them. And there you can see the hook part. And that's how much you have to lift it up with the screwdriver against the spring tension in order to release it at the top. The bottom will just come away nicely once you have that clip removed. Well, the frame comes with lots of screws that fasten it into the wood at the front of the garage, and I think they have a lot of attempts to find a good hold, probably missing a few. You're going to miss a few of those screws because they'll be a bit rusty, hard to see, but as you start to try and release the frame, you'll find them. Now the rails slot in here and are held in by a Torx screw. So you will need a Torx bit just for 2 screws. One here, holding the rail in. The rest of the frame, the sides of the frame knock out. That spigot there goes into the top part. I've taken the top part outside so it can knock the frame apart. It's very restricted in terms of space because I couldn't move it that way, so all the movement had to be at that side to move it that way. But if you know that the frame knocks apart, once you got the side released, then you can knock it apart and drop it down nicely, and it will go out. These are the rails which the wheel runs in, and that's the bit on the end which slots into the top corner of the frame. Yep, depending on which frame side you're looking at, there you go. And it's held in by, in this case, just a single screw through the frame on the side there, which was impossible to get at on one side, so the frame had to be loosened and moved before I could free it. It doesn't pop out very easily because it's got a double bend in it, so you have to knock it up, twist it sideways, jiggle wiggle, and then you can get that out of the slot in the frame. So that's not an easy thing to take out, but as I say, it's only held in by 1 screw and slotting into that slot there. And that's it then, the frame out. Left side, right side, and the top piece. There we go, a repurposed garage door. It's a garage door that's not quite 8 feet wide. It's 2 inches short of 8 feet wide. And basically you need to cut it in 2. So the most critical part of this, I think, is measuring and cutting it down the middle with one of these slitting discs. I've used 3 or 4 slitting discs in total. They were the cheap ones. Then the next stage is, well, let's call it a wall plate, a beam screwed to the wall. I've used just standard screws and plugs, with 3-inch, 4-inch screws, and quite a few of them to screw timber to the wall. Because of the edging of the door, the back timber is notched just there to take this, and stops just short of the ends. Then a goalpost is made up. I had this piece of wood which comes from the end as far as there. 2 legs on it only. It's just vertical down, one at that end and one here, to provide me with plenty of opening when this old bit of shed side is gone. I've got a big wide opening there. And then the front goalpost is just fastened to the back with, in my case, 3 battens and brackets, which I don't know if you can see, there's the first button. There's one a bit further down and one at the end, just to distance the front bit. I could take the buttons out now. Why? Because I fixed it here with some roofing bolts on the front edge into the front part. So far only 2 in the back on this one. I might put a third one in the middle there. 3 roofing bolts, roofing screws through there. There's one. And a couple in the front. And it's solid as a rock, because those roofing bolts and the door itself holds everything apart. So you only need thin lats to temporarily hold the front part, as I call it, the goalpost, in place until you've got the bolts in, and then it's all stabilized. So there we go. Garage door sawn in 2, piece of wood screwed to the house wall, a bit of framing at the front, some goalposts support it, and then by the time you screw the 2 things together with the roofing bolts, they'll be lovely and solid. It's not going to go anywhere. And there we have a store, log store, garden equipment store, whatever you like.